Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for small business owners and entrepreneurs, where we show you how to build a successful business and to have a life too. We're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time and to get off the treadmill so we can experience a life of significance. And now, your host and the author of the #1 best-selling business book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, Chuck Blakeman.
Today, I'm with Vanessa Emerson, a dear friend. She is the founder of The Evolving Expert. She's recognized as a business strategist, wellness educator, MC, and influencer. Vanessa Emerson, FDSI, mentors professionals in every area of business. She is a great business strategist. Vanessa's annual conferences also attract professionals who gather to learn, network, and support each other in growing their skill sets, mindsets, and shaping their industry. I should know I go to them regularly. And Vanessa is honored to serve NSA as the NSA Arizona as one of the board members for 2024 and 2025. That's cool. She's frequently booked by organizations who would like to encourage their members to explore and expand their roles as speakers and consultants. Welcome, Vanessa.
Hey, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here today. Today, we're going to talk about lifetime goals, life vision, that kind of stuff. You read my first book and got something out of that part of the book. So why don't we just start with that? What in my first book, it was Making Money is Killing Your Business, building a business you love and getting a life too. And you found something in that book on life vision, lifetime goals that you felt was helpful and compelling for you. Take it away.
Well, where do I start? I mean, I've read that book physically probably 4 times, and I've listened on Audible many times. And I tell you this every time I see you. I still refer that book to every lead that comes to me looking for help. The focus of my business advisory is primarily for those who teach in some regard. They speak, they coach, they're professors, they're educators, trainers, whatever term we want to use. But often solo entrepreneurs or small business people. And I feel like it was such a helpful book. So when I was told I kind of needed to choose, I would like to talk about it all because it really is an incredible foundational business book for entrepreneurs. And so congratulations on that. And I don't know how many times you've redone it, but I think at least twice. And
Yeah.
and it's amazing. So I share with everyone they need to get a copy of that book. But beyond that, I truly do. And you could ask anybody in my community, and so many of them have read the book and put the principles to use. Beyond that, I also share as I help speakers and consultants and coaches start, launch or grow their businesses. We often go back to that step 1 that often we don't do. So many business owners don't take the time to figure out, where am I driving the bus? I'm a cat person. And so I love the quote from the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland when she's at the fork in the road. And which way do you want to go? And Alice doesn't know. And that I find often business owners don't know until they take the time to figure out where do I want to go? And I think that's so scary. I think that's why it's meaningful to me. It's so scary that we'll end up somewhere. But the whole idea of planning according to what we feel, not just what we think we want, but what we feel in our gut. You're the expert here on this topic, so I'm gonna let you jump in. But I could talk about this for 3 hours.
Well, I was just going to say, as you're talking, it reminds me, I'm sure I stole this because I've never had an original thought in my life, as I put in that book. But the saying that comes to mind is, a person still finds their destiny on the road they chose to avoid it. A person still finds their destiny on the road they chose to avoid it. And to your point, it's terrifying. We don't, and it's not an intentional road. It's just, we don't know how, or we don't know what, or we're afraid of. So we just keep driving the bus and we end up with a destiny.
Yeah.
Why do you think we do that, Vanessa? What causes us? You work with business owners all the time. Why do we not think about, well, what do I want when I'm done?
Well, I would tell you, in my experience with the people that I work often come to me because they want to speak. They want to be speaking, whatever industry they're in. They're like, I want to launch a business. I feel like I'm an expert in something. I want to speak and I want to know, is this topic hot? Will meeting planners hire me? And I'm like, hold on. We need to go back a couple of steps, because in my mind, that's step 3. And as we rewind back to step 2, which is determine your business strategic plan, which I don't remember exactly the term you used for it, but that's the gist of it. And then go all the way back to step 1. It's I think we don't even know yet what topic we we should speak on, and so I think part of the reason that, and I was the same way, Chuck, I don't know when I met you. Was it like 15 years ago? It was a long
Yeah,
time
it
ago.
was, yeah, you were still working with another conferencing thing.
Yeah, well, one of our colleagues there in Colorado referred me to your book and then to you. Rita
Okay.
had referred.
Oh, yeah.
So
Rita
great.
Zamora. She's a
And so
beautiful.
you and I started doing some coaching, and I was in that same situation where like I kind of knew what I wanted, but I really hadn't taken the time to write it out.
Yeah.
And to have and I love your exercise in the book about the waypoints and like the whole idea of figuring out, where we're starting and where we want to go and how to get there in a condensed period of time too. Like that's really juicy. That's really exciting. Not like eventually I'll get there, but if we were to do it in 3 to 5. So I think it's really powerful, but your question was why do we think, I think it's just natural, it's not necessarily natural to think about starting there. I think people think I'm going to start a business and this is what it needs to be. And I need to figure out the business piece.
Yeah. And I have to eat this month. That's why I'm
Yeah.
doing my business, is because I need to eat. Any questions? It's that simple to begin with. Of course, I have to start because I have to get a paycheck so I can eat. And very, very quickly we forget about, well, is that really all you want is to eat?
Right. But do you find that too? I know you're like a serial entrepreneur, Chuck. Did you find that in your early businesses, you were also someone who kind of jumped in and then you figured this out along the way?
Oh, sure. Yeah. You make it up as you go along. It's the entrepreneurial disease. And yeah, my first 5 businesses, I grew them. Every single one that I grew became a treadmill, and I became a hostage to my own business. And it was only after my 5th business, I call it coming to the end of myself. It's like, what are you doing? I remember the 5th business, we had 3 or 4 of us when we started, and there were just shy of 120, 3.5, 4 years later when we sold it. And I was working 50 plus hours a week when we started with 3 people. And I was working 50 plus hours when we had 100 plus. And when we were selling it, I'm sitting at my desk thinking, how did this happen? Somehow I should have been able to give something away to some of the other 100 people. How did I end up just as busy as I always did? So yeah, if you do not start with the end in mind, you do not get to the end. You stay at the start. I started calling it Groundhog Year. Every year is the same. It's like Groundhog Day, the movie, but every year you wake up January 1st, like, here we go again. My business hasn't really, maybe the business is making more money, but I'm as busy. Quality of my life hasn't changed in 7 years or 3 years or whatever it is. So it's absolutely the biggest problem in business is the tyranny of the urgent. I've got to make my bills. I got to do all these things. We get run over by the truck of the tyranny of the urgent. And we never get to the priority of the important, because I think part of that, Vanessa, it isn't urgent. It's just important. It's incredibly important, but it's not going to pay the bills this month.
And what's really sad is it's really fun to do too, right? So it's not like it's an important thing I've got to do, like I've got to figure out this tax thing for the IRS or something, but it's more of a delicious because you get to, what do I want?
Yeah, I am rewriting as I'm developing our new podcast, Get Off the Treadmill. I'm rewriting this book as part of doing that podcast, and we're probably going to rename it something like The Purpose Filled Business or something like that, because it really is about that. The book really was about that, and it is something that can be delicious. I tell people I have my vision statement, and my mission statement, but I say, what drives me, my motivator, is to help people find that second most important day of their life. Mark Twain actually didn't say this. I thought he did, but he didn't. But it still worked. Somebody said it.
We'll say he did. Somebody said it.
But we've all heard this saying, or maybe you haven't. 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you figure out why. And that's your lifetime goal stuff. And that's really what drives me with business owners. It's what drives you as well. As okay, you want to be a speaker, but why?
Yeah. And how's that going to help you get there? And sometimes we figure that that's not really what's going to help them get where they're wanting to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that is fairly common, that people think, oh, I'm going to make all this money as a speaker. Well, the reality is that it's not typically a career that you make a lot of money in just speaking, unless you're like a retired NFL quarterback, Heisman winner or something like that, right? And so once they start getting some reality around that, I mean, certainly speaking is really great for helping people market what else it is that they are wanting to offer as far as services. But so getting realigned with the realities, but that's that step 2 in the middle, right? That's that strategic plan and being able to
Yes.
really understand your profit centers and revenue streams and, just the business planning piece.
Yeah, and I want to have you back to talk about that. Yeah, I think there's a ton of reasons why we don't get into this stuff, and you just triggered me on one. It's
I'm
the
good at
idea.
triggering.
Yeah, it was a good trigger because I think we're taught by the world around us, maybe our parents, certainly the economy and the schools and just the culture, that my job is to chase money, and if I get enough of it, I'll be happy. Somehow I can put all the other pieces together, and I'll get a life and all that. And I never found anybody who actually did it that way. They might have gotten money, but it wasn't money that actually got them a life. They had to stop and go back and say, well, why do I have money? And so they still had to do that work. And then they would all say, well, this would have worked better if I'd have just done that to begin with. But yeah, I think we assume that the American dream is, hey, you're profitable. And I bought a boat for somebody else to go out on because I don't have time to do it. It just doesn't work. So lots of reasons why we don't do this.
But isn't that so beautiful? I mean, so I was thinking how it's been probably, let's say 15 years or so since you and I first connected. And at that time read the book and then reached out to you, but also did the exercise in the book. And I still, my very same, what I call life vision, you'd call maybe lifetime goals or use a different term, but it's still the same document. I've just modified it multiple times. I've continued to go back and modify. And it's so powerful to be able to have right here beside me in my computer, in your wallet, put it on the bathroom mirror, wherever, to be able to oh yeah, this is why I'm jumping out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Ready to
And to your point, that's how we know our big why. My friend Alan Weingarten came to me once and said, I know I have my big why. And that's what we call it for shorthand: lifetime goals, vision, big why. I said, well, great. How do you know? And he looked at me and said, because it has me. Yeah. And I said, how do you know it has me? He says, because every morning when I got out of my bed, I asked myself, well, how am I going to live out my big why today? And every decision I make now, from buying a copier to starting a new business, goes through his big why. And he has an incredible story to tell about how he ended up leaving one business and getting into another one that made him millions because he met a guy in a coffee shop and he could help that guy with his big why. So it's pretty cool stuff once we get there. It's a good understanding that I think there's three fundamentals I want to quickly get to just have you comment how they worked for you. Three fundamentals of a lifetime goal. And I think we should say what is different between a lifetime goal than any other goal. It's really simple. It's a goal you can never check off as complete. I can buy a big house, I can have millions in the bank, I can do all kinds, play all the 100 best golf courses, but it's something I can never complete, like being a great mom, solving world hunger. It doesn't have to be huge, it just has to be continuous, something you can never solve. So one of the things you can solve, the first fundamental principle is of lifetime goals, is making money is not an empowering vision. And I'm sure you've experienced that. Do you have any just quick reflexive thoughts around that?
Around which piece of that?
That just making money is not an empowering vision, just that principle itself.
Yeah, I mean, and yes, my thought is that when I got really clear about why I'm wanting to build this business and started realizing that I already was a good ways toward what I wanted my life to look like, I feel like, so for me, my life vision document has bullet points, and it's things like, I look at it as every day. What do I want every day to look like? It's get out of bed, RPM, rise, pee, meditate, work out, take a walk or something, take care of, we're very much into cats. I'm very involved. We have a cat sanctuary. That's on my life vision. My making more money helps me help more cats. Yes. But what also happened is, for clarity for me, was that I started getting opportunities that I would otherwise have probably said, that's probably not a good fit for me. But like the opportunity to be a board member with a premier cat rescue here in town. Like there's things that just, it starts coming together, and then you can keep looking back at that life vision and say, wow, like I'm really largely already living what I want. Mostly it's like you can see the progression,
and to your point,
it really didn't have to do with money.
Yeah, exactly. To your point, your particular vision doesn't need tens of millions of dollars. I've seen this work both ways for people. Once they get their lifetime goals, they figure out, man, I need another couple $1,000,000 in order to figure this out. And other people get their lifetime goals and say, I don't actually need as much money as I have. It's different for everybody. It's not that money isn't important. It's critical. It's one of the three resources: time, money, and energy. And if you don't have the money you need to live out your particular lifetime goals, it's not going to be fun. But to your point, it may not be millions. It may be for the next guy. The second fundamental principle of a lifetime goal is a goal realized is no longer motivated, which is kind of fundamental to the whole concept. Do you have any thoughts around that?
I think that's why it's critical that you write your, whatever you're going to call this document, your lifetime goals, your life vision, however, as far as, it's not events, it's not something you can cross off a list, but more of when I say that every day I want to get up and do these things, I can never like completely cross that off because there's more days.
Yeah.
And I want it to feel a certain way, and I want to continue to learn in certain veins, like spiritually or that type of thing. You never can cross that off.
Yeah.
And so it remains motivating.
Yeah, and I found that being a lifelong learner is much better than saying I want to be educated, because you can actually cross off educated, but you can never cross off being curious.
There's always another certification course somewhere.
Exactly. And
Not that I have a problem with that.
no, the third one of these principles that I use for lifetime vision, lifetime goals.
I brought a visual. She just
Oh, you did. You have a visual. Nice. For those who are watching the podcast, she has a visual.
A cat
cute
just
visual.
jumped into my lap.
Yeah. But the third principle is we are made to do and to be something. We're made to be and to do something significant our whole lives, not just the first 2/3, not just the first 60 years. That we're not supposed to be put out to pasture. Otto von Bismarck invented retirement in 1881, and it's not a human condition. Doesn't mean you need to go into the factory or into the office until you're 95. But it does mean that you shouldn't stop trying to live a life of significance because you reached 60 or 65 or some magic number. So how do you feel about that one?
I think we're talking about Dharma, right? We're talking about our purpose. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, well, that's what some people would call it. Absolutely.
Come to me, and it's like that deeper soul level purpose of why am I on this planet? What am I?
Yeah.
What do I feel? Where do I feel I can serve? And I think when we look at it as not, I think about my dad, who had a very honorable career, working for corporations, and had his retirement, and ultimately he was a Depression baby, right?
Yeah.
In that era. So it's like an older way of looking at retirement, and I think things have changed over time. Getting to that end of like the usefulness, I think can be not awesome as far as our morale. And
I agree.
I think it's so important to be locked into that greater service, or that greater how can I leave the planet a better place? And what's so exciting to me is that we can continue to do that as long as we can continue to do it. What I mean by that is, like, even into my 80s, I expect to still be doing what I'm doing in some level, because I feel like I'm serving.
Yes.
I know I'm serving, and I know there are more people to be served, that you can help them meet their goals. And I think what's a key is for people to figure that out. And Chuck, can I talk about this a second?
Sure.
I in my own experience, we figured that out by getting quiet, and with mindfulness, and by going within. It's not something that somebody's going to tell us or figure out for us. I'm a big believer in coaches, and all levels of helpful service out there that can help us. But ultimately, we just have to come back with, well, is it this, or this? And we need to take that into prayer or meditation, or a walk where we can contemplate. But our inner GPS will never serve us wrong. Nobody's ever said, I listen to my gut, and boy, do I wish I wouldn't have listened to my gut on that, if they're being honest. And I think we can land on what is that dharmic purpose by listening to our gut. And I think what's really exciting is when it's scary.
Yeah.
Right? Because it might be like, I really feel like, no, I'm a dentist. I've gone to school. I've put in all this money. I've got all this debt. I'm doing dentistry. And I feel like maybe my purpose is beyond that. That's a scary, but also exciting place to be.
Yeah. And the type of scary that I always promote is, ask yourself this question: if this doesn't work out, will I die? Or will this be catastrophic? I don't even have to die, but will it be the kind of failure? I don't even believe in those things, but the kind of lack of success that I could not handle. And usually, for the most part, people say, yeah, I might lose my house, but I'd bounce back, or something. So it has to be scary, but it shouldn't be something that terrifies you. It should be scary. I like that.
Yeah, I think because then you have some skin in the game when
Right. When we do things that are easy, we don't learn. When we do things that are a little scary, we start growing like crazy. So it's the growth path.
Also say that when you feel right in your gut, even if it feels a little scary, then when you move in that direction, it feels to me like all manner of like heaven and earth start moving with you, because it is what is meant for you. Which with my new brand and where we're moving, we're definitely moving into an area that for a while I've thought of, and I thought I should do, but I'm embracing.
Yeah, good for you. Well, I think you're a great example of overriding principle of the lifetime goal, and that is this: people who are helping other people are the most joyful, fulfilled people on earth. And I would encourage everyone who is working on their big why to have a piece for themselves. Like, I want to be a lifetime long learner. I want to be healthy. Great. But I would also encourage you to have a piece that you share with the world, that there's some obligatory stress in my big why, that the world is depending on me in some way. And that desire to be helpful in the world around us, solving other people's problems. There's a lot of data, a lot of research that those are the most fulfilled, joyful people on earth. So put that into your big why. Well, we could go on for like 3 hours, you and I could, but these are supposed to be short podcasts. So we're just going to leave people hanging with this. You can help them with this. I can help them with this. How can they get a hold of you and get more from you on how you can actually help business owners and how they can find out about your conferences and that kind of stuff?
Sure. So info@vanessaemerson.com is the easiest one. info@vanessaemerson.com. And while we talked today about the business advisory and helping people with speaking and consulting, that is a big piece of what we do. And we also offer training and coaching and self-development and self-care.
Cool.
So there's a wide range of ways that we can work with entrepreneurs, and it's all available at theevolvingexpert.com.
I love it. Business from the inside out.
Yeah.
That's the way it ought to be. You're a beautiful human being. I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you. It's always so good to spend time with you, friend.
Yes. Looking forward to being with you again, I believe at least in January, if not sooner. Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of the Get Off the Treadmill podcast. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and hit the like button to ensure you are receiving the latest tools you need to grow your business and to get off the treadmill. If you want more information on the 3 to 5 Club, the Crankset Group, or to book Chuck as a business advisor, speaker, or workshop leader, you can contact us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Until next time, have a great week.